for me, it's an extensive issue. It's just like sometimes what we glorify is the wrong thing.
Okay.
So we glorify profitability.
Exactly. Let's start highlighting profitability. If a startup is not profitable, give them no space.
9 to 5 has good vibes, but 9 to 5 with Ngari has better.
Kenyan startups. I don't know why I'm laughing, but there's the good, the bad, the ugly. I don't know, some are shutting down every now and then. There's some that are perceived to be successful. And I'm very honored that we have a co-founder of one of the most celebrated startups in Kenya. And I'll just switch over so that he can intro himself, tell us about him and the startup that he started.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. My name is Mesongo Sibuti, co-founder and CTO at Marketforce. Essentially, born a pastoralist, professionally a software engineer, and eventually turned out to be, as it's commonly known in the country, a hustler. So very happy to be here with Wangare to talk to you guys, about how the startup life is.
Okay, cool. And we have our returning, every week there's a new update on Chris. Chris, what's going on?
I'm now a confirmed consultant.
Congratulations.
It's been a journey. But I'll just switch over to you. Can you tell us who is Mesonga? What drives you? Just want to get to know you first. I think you said a bit that you're a software engineer and a pastoralist, but I'd love to know more.
I think those are mainly, my fundamentals and essentially how I grew up. So I always tell people that, I wasn't one of those people that can say I was born an entrepreneur. I kind of fell into it, through my journey. I was really just, I grew up mostly looking after cattle.
Cool.
I grew up with my grandparents back in the village. For those who know Kuria, it's just off the Masai Mara, the border of Kenya and Tanzania. Actually didn't grow up a lot with technology. The first time I did touch a computer was in high school.
Oh, good.
And that's essentially when I decided that I would pursue computer studies. Then getting into campus, I was just coming into campus to do well and, probably be like Chris. And
I'm not done well yet.
Oh, Chris.
I'm sure other people will think otherwise. And just go into probably, the employment or consulting world. But it's during that period that I actually met my co-founder and decided to, join fully the entrepreneurship world. Although just after high school, I did run a cyber cafe.
Oh, nice.
That was my, first time moving off from the pastoralist life and trying to actually hustle. And then essentially we started a company called Mesongo, which was mostly geared towards helping. So back in around 2012, 2013, most companies then were trying to go digital. It's when web was kind of at least the new thing in this market. So we used to, go to companies, evaluate what they are doing manually and try to come up with business optimized processes that can be done using technology.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the genesis of how we actually started our entrepreneurship journey.
Awesome. So what is Marketforce for those who don't know what it is?
So Marketforce is a B2B e-commerce solution that looks at giving retail merchants who are essentially your dookers an end-to-end solution for them to run their day-to-day business operations.
Okay.
So we think of ourselves as, a super app for the retail merchants.
Okay.
And the way we want them to think about us is anything that I want to do. So if I want to get products, I want to get credit, I want insurance for my business, or they want to sell even digital financial services, then Marketforce is the umbrella that has all those services together.
Okay. So do you consider Marketforce being a technology company, which means you focus on building the technology?
Yeah.
Or it's a tech-supported business where it's the whole business is the operations and then the tech is just supporting?
So for us, we view ourselves as a tech-first business.
Tech
Okay.
first.
So it's tech-first. Yeah.
Hey, so do you think if without the operations, you could take the software and sell it to somebody else and just build the software and another company that does all the operations would use your software?
Yeah, so there is this internal joke that I make that actually I do not mind selling my tech to even my competitors.
Okay.
In the sense that because I do not essentially view as a distribution business,
Okay.
but more as a technology business that,
Okay.
you can use the technology to really, ease the distribution. So the tech for us is what leads.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other things follow.
Okay, 2 questions. Who are your competitors?
It depends at the way you look at the space. So we operate in 2 key segments.
Yep.
So that's FMCG distribution and financial services.
Okay.
So that's digital financial services, with, of course, merchants being the core. So in the Kenyan market, I think you would say Twiga, Wasoko, Kiosk are players in the distribution side, the
Yep.
FMCG distribution side. On the digital financial services, there is a lot of players there.
When you say
doing
digital
BNPL.
financials, let's be clear, it's lending.
Yeah, so lending is part of it.
Yeah.
But we think about it differently. So, the way we view ourselves is that you create a network using technology and you can literally distribute almost any services through that network that you create. Credit, Kenya is a credit nation. So credit is always like the obvious thing that, people start distributing. But on our platform, you'll find, things like water bills, electricity, airtime,
So expenses for
insurance.
that business.
Yeah, it's for that business and even their customers, eventually.
Okay.
So there is more services that you can actually distribute digitally.
Yeah.
And that's what we're actually thinking of as a differentiator for us. Because that's only possible if you're actually technology-led
Yeah.
rather than distribution.
Fantastic. I'd love to work in a technology-led organization. I think many say that they're technology-led, and I think it's hard, especially with the customer segment you're dealing with. Technology is not like you're not dealing with for example, people in America who small businesses. I'd definitely say they're technology-led. In Africa, it's a bit different. So, how did you get to be a technology-led company?
Yeah, so as you've said, I think it's a unique space.
Yeah.
So, you kind of have to be merchant obsessed for you to understand how you actually build your technology, for you to be able to interact with merchants well. As much as we say that Africa is unique and it's different, but it's always standard that for you to build good tech, you have to have a good understanding of your customer.
Yes.
And what we noticed at the early stages is that merchants, it would be hard for them to adopt an ordering platform, but they still use WhatsApp.
Yes.
And they use Facebook, and they use, all the kinds, social media. They have Truecaller. They have all these other platforms that you would think are difficult to use.
Yeah.
But they are using them. So
Yeah.
the question you ask yourself is, what are these people doing
Different.
That's actually making them be able to use this? And one of the things we actually did very early is to make sure that we build an offline first platform. That changes the game in terms of experience because, for the tech savvy people, that when you have an offline first platform, the experience is seamless. The user doesn't have to know when they're online or offline. And that just makes the difference because the way they think about it is that I can always use this app anytime. So it will make your work of building 10x, but then it improves your chances of converting most of the citizens.
I completely agree. I mean, right now I'm working on a product that's offline, and there's challenges that does come with it. Big challenges. But yeah, Chris.
So trying to understand the offline. Does it mean that you have operations that are happening offline, or it's an application that can work without internet?
So it's an application that works without internet, and the use of the internet is abstracted from there.
But at some stage, let's be honest, they need to come online to either seek their sales.
Exactly. So it depends on how you eventually then communicate those different statuses to the user. So I will use WhatsApp, for example.
Yeah.
When you're offline, you go to WhatsApp, you text the message. It's like they have the tick and the double tick that you can use to say, okay, so this message has been delivered, but not received. Or this message actually hasn't been delivered because of my internet. That's when you see that thing that normally looks like a clock. So we have similar queues on our platform in the sense that they can place the order, they'll see whether we've received the order or not. They know, and we keep communicating with them, on all the stages of when we're processing the different things.
So in this part of the world, is technology the differentiating factor in, let's say you want to be the best FMCG distribution company in Kenya? Is technology the factor that would make you become best, stand out, if you want to beat the competition?
No. Because you have to think technology is a tool.
Yes.
So we are tech first because we know that in the background the technology gives you a competitive advantage. Now that's not how the user thinks about it. Okay. So the user cares about the experience, right? The user cares about you have the product, because remember, this guy, when he wakes up in the morning, he's thinking that today I don't have sugar, I don't have cooking oil, I need to pay fees for my children. I need insurance, or I need to pay for hospital. I need airtime. I need those are the user needs. He's not thinking about the technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when he gets a good experience of the technology to meet these needs, then what you get, is stickability from the merchant. So it's how you tie up the user needs versus the technology, with the technology that you build to then give you a competitive advantage. But the user he's not even, you can't go to a merchant and say, we are better because we are offline fast. Like the user doesn't, they don't know.
What does that mean for me?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you have another question?
No, I was about to ask about volume.
That was my next question as well. How many merchants do you have? What volumes do you see? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so as at today, in Kenya, we serve about 120k merchants. But monthly active, we are trading at around 36,000. So our universe is 120, we're trading at around 36k.
Yeah, that's what I have to say. Those are great. Those are great.
That's from information is actually always available online.
No, what you read online versus what's actual is usually very different. Even if you do your due diligence and read through, usually a very big difference for that. So connected to that volume, so there's experience. So I was reading about, and there's a lot of talk about how B2B startups are not working in Africa, and so like Jumia exited the market. Companies are downsizing, and all the companies.
Some of your competitors are struggling.
Kenyan market. So they scaled back their operations. So I think they're not doing logistics. I think there are only a few components of the business that are running in Kenya, but in other markets they've completely left the market. So the idea was in Africa we don't have enough volumes. That's the argument, that for you to break into the e-commerce business, you need to run, because profit margins are very thin, so you have to run at a very high volume to be able to break even. Do you believe that's the case?
Interesting. It's a very broad question. I'm trying to in different sections. So first of all, you have to understand that today we are in a different time. From the startup perspective, compared to 3-4 years ago. All the way up to 2022, maybe mid 2022. The environment from then to today is very different. And for those in investment, they will say it was good markets, now it's bad markets. So that alone puts pressure on all businesses and not just startups. I think that it's because startups get a different highlight, but because we work with so many partners, I think many people are struggling. Even the manufacturing industry in Kenya, by the way, today is struggling. And I'm sure you've seen some of the manufacturers actually close just because of the pressure that their dollar has put on the economy and things like that. Now, if you're looking specifically at the distribution business, what has happened is there's been a serious shrinkage in margins across. This has nothing to do with tech, or being a startup. So that is one thing. Let's put that in the pocket. The number two, costs of operation have significantly increased. So, just for comparison, just look at the price of fuel in June last year versus the price of fuel now. There is a difference of about 40 shillings, I think, to date. So that means that the cost of logistics is significantly increasing. If you look at also the import of vehicles and things like that, the other component of logistics, it's gone up. So cost of operations for many businesses, have gone really high, while margins, like specifically at the FMCG industry, have shrunk. So if you look, for example, one of the fast-moving products is sugar cooking. If you look at cooking oil, last year in March was trading at around 2,700 shillings. Today it's trading anywhere between 6,600 and 7,200. That's like, it's 3x. Now what that does for margins is like, so at 2,700, you're selling at maybe 200 shillings margin. So you can just do your quick math, 200 over 2,700. At 6,600, even if you keep the 200 margin and sell at 6,800, the margin goes down. You need more capital to sell the same volumes. Remember, the 6,000 will give you more GMV, but it does not give you more margin. And for you to sell, so if you're doing 1,000 jerry cans in March last year and you do 1,000 jerry cans now, you need 6 million today. 6.6. Last year you needed 2.7 million. So it's put a strain on the capital requirements also for businesses. Which essentially means for you to keep up with your volumes, you need to go and raise 3x cash today. Now let's go back to the markets. So we said it was good markets, it's bad markets today, right? So how will you raise in good markets? You are looking for 2.7, we're looking for 6.6 in bad markets.
Difficult. So so I was thinking, thinking example like in the US.
Oh, and by the way, one last thing. The interest rates have also tripled on capital. So anybody today raising capital, debt capital specifically, if you are getting 12% last year annually, you're getting 36.
Bad market. So there, I remember. I remember watching this documentary about US 1920s when there was a boom after World War, and there were so many smaller banks coming up, and then there was a crash, and then most of those banks were consolidated into one. A lot of them went out of business, and it's a market correction kind of thing. It's like when there is a lot of money flowing around, more businesses get set up. It's easier to do business. When the money dries out, then it's very hard to do businesses. So, in the FMCG distribution market, there's so many players. I think maybe 5 or 6 of them. Do you think they should merge? Or do you think there's not enough market for all of them that it makes sense for them actually to be merged?
Yeah, I think people are obsessed about, kind of like the FMCG distribution startups and whatever, and the market size and all these things. What I tell to people and also to like investors, even sometimes competitors, it's not like we don't talk. We do talk. It's that the truth is that today my biggest competitor's Marketforce is not Twiga or Mesongo. It's not. We are similar in the sense that we use technology, but remember what we said about the merchant cares about service. What are they receiving? The people that are today closest to those merchants are the wholesalers. The neighborhood guys. Those are the big. And by the way, just for context, all of us collectively, we're still doing less than 20%, even in the Kenya market where we are many of us.
So say
of the volumes, if you just go to a manufacturer and ask, okay, how much is this guy doing? How much is this guy doing? just compare and see volume output, what they're selling through other guys and through the tech guys, you'll realize it's still 20%. So there is room for growth for all of us. But we have to give service that's matching what the 10-year relationship between the wholesaler and the retailer.
Yes.
A similar argument was made by Bob about M-Pesa when people were claiming that M-Pesa has taken over everything. And it's like M-Pesa only serves like 5 to 10% of that. Most of the money moves around in cash. While that is true, when you're defining a total addressable market, it has to be a certain type of person. It's not just a normal merchant. It has to be a merchant with a certain category, moves a certain volumes of time. So that 80% is not accessible to you, or is not an ideal customer. Whether maybe they move too small, they're too far, they're not the ideal kind of person who would do that. So when you define the total addressable market, and then you have too many entrants, the economy says that you'll split that market. You'll not be acquiring this new market. That's the same way no one has acquired those customers, like let's say paying fare by Matatu. So many people have tried it, but it seems like no one is really, I don't know, Kenyans were funny. We're not really.
Behavior change is hard for us.
So that market still remains highly unexploited for reasons that technologies cannot get into that market. Maybe in the future we might. So going back, like, yes, there
I
is
like the fact that you said highly unexploited. Because it means that the market still has potential.
yes,
Yeah.
no one has figured out how to exploit it. So tech was one thing that tech can do it. That's why I think, or from your perspective, you say like it's the customer experience or what the merchant experiences is what essentially they will buy from you. It's not the tech, it's not anything else. So how do you exploit that market?
Yeah, so I think there's a number of components to watch around. I don't think that the barrier is not tech today. The barrier mostly is, and the reason you will see most of the players are in the big towns today. So we happen to be one of the players that actually has gone a lot into the satellite towns rather than the big towns. And what you will see, what people are avoiding mostly is developing models that will have a cost to serve that makes sense in those markets. So actually, the secret is in how you structure your cost to serve.
And the more you go to satellite towns, the more your cost to serve goes
high.
Yeah.
And that's why the people that have figured out those markets are the ones I'm calling, wholesalers or mini distributors.
Yeah.
That are well established in those markets. They have created the relationships.
Yeah.
They have figured out the cost to serve in those markets, and they
Are they local? Are they regional?
Yeah.
Are they countrywide?
And are they using technology?
I think now they've probably started to adopt some technology.
Okay.
But they are mostly local.
Local,
Yes,
yeah.
You need a trust element to operate in those
Yeah,
markets.
exactly.
They know, the nitty-gritties like the terrain, who pays, who doesn't pay.
Yeah,
what
that
products
presence
you
and that
have.
knowledge is
Which makes it then you acquire this local because scaling it at like a countrywide level sometimes brings all those, because you want to centralize operations, and the more you go further, your cost to serve goes crazy. So you just acquire this smaller distributor.
Nice. Now I just gave you a business idea.
Chris, remember how you said you not made it yet? No, it's your mom.
No, because I've always thought that the magic is in the operations. It's not in the technology.
Yeah, it's not definitely not in the technology.
I think in this, especially the FMCG market, I think people care less about experience. I think people care about price.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Like you can give me a bad experience, but you sell it to me at a very good price, I will buy it. But if you have a great experience, so that's why I think the magic is in the ops, figuring out the ops.
So being in the market, it's a balance. Yeah, it's a balance. Because remember, there are just some things. It depends on what you're calling bad experience. There are some things that the price cannot stay for. So, for example, if you to deliver milk to a shop, by 6 a.m. in the morning, and your delivery, the milk at 11 a.m. in the morning,
that doesn't.
at 5 shillings cheaper. Like the guy wouldn't care about 5 shillings. All the people buying milk already bought.
Oh yeah, that makes that makes sense. But I think for for flywheel products, especially the ones that don't perish very quickly, I think rice is at the number one. Cooking oil, sugar, rice, flour. I think those are like price driven. Immediately, a competitor has a 2 shillings difference. You see the massive shift in demand for that product. And pricing can be something out of control.
Yeah.
For that, which goes back to the volume question. If you have volume, you can always either compensate for the price, and that or figure out a product mix for that. My other question was on e-commerce, and look, you're B2B, but now downstream, which is I want 2 packets of Wunga, 3 packets of whatever soda, and then I get them like how Carrefour does it for the app, and then this can pipe into a system that goes straight into a B2B person and then makes that order. Do you think we will get there in scale? I know Carrefour does it, and a couple of other few people do it.
Yeah.
I'm a skeptic for it.
I actually think that the B2B companies have the capability to do e-commerce at scale at some point. And that's why I was saying, like, what we really needed to be figured out is the cost to serve and how you go to the satellite terms.
Yeah.
But while maintaining a reasonable cost to serve. Because the B2B space has the advantage of coverage that it will take a long time for people like Carrefour to be able to have that coverage across the country. Now, then begs the question of what does e-commerce at satellite towns look like?
Yeah.
I don't think that it looks like how we do
exactly,
e-commerce
very different.
in Nairobi. So that's something I think for the space to innovate around.
Another idea.
Yeah. What's a good? We've talked about cost to serve. What's a good cost to serve as a percentage of the goods being sold?
Percentage of a good cost to serve is one that makes you net plus. Profitable business, but good cost to serve.
Okay, so if I'm selling a TV,
so it's very simple, by the way. If you're buying this cup at 100, and it's getting to, so you're buying at 100, selling at 120, your cost to serve should be 10 shillings.
Yes.
So you're left with 10 shillings.
unless if I'm buying a TV at 100k, and cost to serve 80% will be transport cost, right?
Yeah.
Logistics is always the highest.
It's always the highest piece
for it. So if I'm buying a TV, the cost to serve will be very low. It'll be very low. If I get a do-the guy to deliver it, it will be very low. Once you start dealing with the low-cost products, then your cost to serve it becomes very high for that. And the majority of the people will be buying things maybe under 2,000 bob per day for on the consumer side. So unless you put all these things together and give them to one delivery partner who splits the cost, then it becomes extremely hard to reduce the cost to serve for this.
10 bob.
I like how you are asking questions.
So
No, I'm going to the question. Because that's figuring the cost to serve is a monster
yeah.
by itself, which I think since transport has the highest cost in logistics, it's almost out of control because there's fuel cost, there's insurance, there is blah blah blah. Then now things like then how do you innovate on that, or how do you figure it out?
So I think there is what you've already mentioned, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys experimenting around it, even in other markets like India. It's very common. The group buying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're doing a bulk delivery, and that just reduces the cost to serve because then, it's like there is 5 homesteads here.
Yeah.
And they put an order, it just gets delivered at one place, and the rest of the guys just pick from.
Yeah.
So that's one way to solve the cost.
But I know why that doesn't work.
Yeah. So
No, but I've seen Pick Up Mtani do it. Pick Up Mtani, they go to like a high density area like Tayole, and they have a shop, so they deliver there, and then you come in.
Yeah.
A sparse place like this probably wouldn't.
Where we breed on individualism and we don't care. Yes, I think we need to go to those other places that are very community focused. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's the thing I think what's a little bit difficult about the B2B space is you will have to innovate sometimes for reasons based on people's behavior. So just the same way you're saying, group buying might not work here. But maybe wholesaling might work there.
Exactly.
Because the people might be able to buy. It's not 10 people buying, it's one person, but they're buying like a show. They're buying, lots of stuff. So you have to also understand, what the DNA of the business is for you to model your cost to serve.
And how do you do that? Do you guys have? How do you make sure you know the markets that you want to serve? How do you go about that?
We are hustlers.
What does that mean?
What that means is that you wake up in the morning and you go to the field.
You go to the field.
So we spend a lot of time. Personally, I spend a lot of time in the field.
That's
Most
good.
of the time I'm driving, going to all our markets. So you find me Karioko in Dar es Salaam, or, Kawangware in Nairobi.
That's good.
I like that.
Or Namuongo in Kampala. Selling, carrying the goods, going to the merchants,
That's
trying
good.
to learn Luganda.
I do think that sometimes it does come down to that. I think I've seen a lot of startups which proudly say that they did everything away from the country, just did a PowerPoint deck and got funded. And I'm just like, wow, no wonder you had Sky Garden say that, and he was very proud to say that. I was
I
like,
think we also celebrate raising money. We don't celebrate profitability. We need to start, like, a company announces, like, we are now profitable, and then now people...
Can we talk about that, by the way? Because you guys raised like 40 million. Like, was it last year? I don't remember, but I remember seeing that. It was 40 million, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was 40 million. The split was about 20 equity, 20 debt. So you know how these things work. Is like the debt, you just have access to the cash. You don't have this cash.
It's unlocked.
I don't have 20 million.
Okay, but you did something for your business, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk through that. Like, also, I remember shortly after that, you guys had cuts. If we could also just touch on that.
Yeah, I think that ties to, as you, build and scale a business, sometimes you change your models of how you operate. And also, for the last 12 months, we've been driving towards profitability.
Okay.
Very soon going to be a profitable company, so we can celebrate it.
When you say soon, when do we start?
I'll send you a very soon. I don't so anyway, but yeah, we've been driving really doing what's called automation organization in terms of being able to cut costs across all our operations. So it's not just people. It's just how we approach logistics and how we approach tech itself. And people got affected along the way. Because the model that we had put in place at first was very reliant
People heavy.
We field a lot of field teams and ops teams. Now we brought in different people. So one thing, for example, we don't manage our own warehouses today.
Okay.
So we're using partners to do that. So we didn't need that team.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you have to let people go.
That's the
And
issue.
it was my first experience actually, and it's a very tough decision, as you say. Because normally it's people and because our nature as the founders is we get involved a lot with the employees. Sometimes it's people their kids, the husband, the wife. So it's a tricky conversation, to be honest. But you get through it over time. So
And you make more intentional, conscious decisions when you're hiring. And
And it's not those things. I don't think that's something you can always plan for, because sometimes just how you kind of refactor your business leads to job losses, and that's why you will see today even big companies or players like Microsoft or Google. Given that now everybody's shifting towards AI, there is new jobs that are being taken up by that. They are having to rationalize. Sometimes it actually has nothing to do with cost, but just a business decision in the sense that, am I really going to use this talent going forward? and things change a lot. It's not something that you can say that if you hire very well, you are never going to have and let a group of people go in.
There's an argument people say that startups are built to scale, they're not built for profitability, at least in the short run. So scale the business, let the valuation go very high, sell it off.
Is that what you guys want to do?
No.
Is that how it was built?
What are you guys talking about?
And
No,
I think
because-
sometimes I think that is very okay. Maybe in the business of making business like
No, but you-
and then just sell. Let it-
Until there's no buyer on the other side. Now you're stuck with the high valuation, and the valuation starts going down because everyone is discounting it for it. So the argument, so those two sides of arguments, like most startups are not built with profitability in mind from a start. They're built for scale. Do you agree with that? And what's the philosophy for Marketforce?
To be honest, that's a new concept to me. How would you build a startup? Not like the whole essence. So scale is, of course, a characteristic of startups. Because startups are about speed.
we had a very big debate.
Debate about this. Is it about speed or is it about
Nailing it.
yeah? And
Yeah,
just
but-
being like
If you nail something, so
it will take time.
if you nail something 10 years, it depends on what you call nailing, because it's about speed of it's the right one is probably fail fast, because you might do so. Most startups will pivot 3-4 times before the real success kind of things get together. But in that point of pivot, how fast you're able to pivot, and the reason why you need to stay close to your customers depends on how fast you.
So someone might argue, sorry for it. Someone might argue, why don't you stay in the Kenyan market, conquer it, become profitable in the Kenyan market before thinking of Uganda, because it has different dynamics. So why go to Uganda, TZ, without even proving the Kenyan market? That's the debate.
But who does that? You don't go to so proving and being profitable, those are two different.
So being profitable means that I can take my profits and use it to experiment in UG, right? Proving means that I have customers, but it'll take me 5 years for this customer base to be profitable, right? So the scaling part is where you go to other markets, you go to other products, without your base product being solid and profitable.
Yeah, but that's really, it's not a startup decision as per se. That's a business decision generally that you make as a businessman. Is whether the fundamental question actually is, do you want to expand with your own capital,
Yes.
profitability,
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
do you want to expand with
Someone else.
someone else's capital?
Yeah.
Now that always means you expand with your own capital, and what it essentially means is you will grow a medium-sized business over a long time.
Yes.
But you will own 100% of it.
Exactly.
And stable.
Yes, and stable. And
stable.
very well customers and it's
But
sounds
that formula has been proved to take very long.
yes.
But
Exactly.
stability
But
and-
But it does not mean that if you expand with capital, that investment capital, you do not get to stability.
Okay.
Okay, but
This is another
what
argument.
I'm waiting to see a startup in Kenya that can prove.
Yeah, so
That this
I
is
think
your very-
that is a disadvantage of the ecosystem today. That
Yeah.
the other case hasn't been proved.
Yes, we're waiting.
Yeah.
Let's
Prove
see.
it,
Prove it
fine.
on you.
Prove it.
Prove it on you.
Yeah, and that's fine. I understand that. So when if you approach the question from the angle of why hasn't this case been proved, then then that becomes, because we've seen a lot of cases in the Kenyan market where people have built very family-owned businesses,
Yes.
very very passionately and slowly, and
Yeah.
they've gotten to a space where they are expanding into
Different
other
countries,
markets,
yeah.
and you have to attest to the fact that some of these businesses have taken 2-3 generations. So the grandfather started,
Absolutely.
And there's something to it, because maybe some things take time to learn, right? Maybe just understanding the merchant market, for example, it just needs time. Sometimes it's like wine. There's no shortcut. You just have to leave it there for years to mature. Now, I want to get back to the question about, do you grow with your own capital? Do you grow with other people's capital? Now, each of these decisions have different consequences. If you're growing with somebody else's capital, that capital might be impatient. It may drive you to make business decisions that are not in the best interest of the business. With your own capital, you have control. You can scale back certain things. You might grow 2 steps a day, right? So a lot of the failures, I think, is attributed to raising capital outside. If you take 2 ideal businesses, same type of business, one is growing slowly family owned, another one is growing through VC, debt, etc. I've not done that study, but my hunch is that the death rate of this business will be higher on the ones that raised VC money vis-a-vis the ones that grew more organically.
You inherited customers.
I think the other way around. I mean, you can even see it specifically in the trading space.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you guys are aware, but you know, Quickmart, Naivas, they are now PE backed, right? The investment backed. If you compare how they are doing, versus the guys that are dead, Nakumat, Taskis, they were all still family owned. Now the thing is that sometimes capital gives you defensibility.
Okay. It depends how the capital.
Yeah, because when you look at and this is the case, when you look at a business like a supermarket, right? They already have the formula. They already know, how where they get their stock, how you stock the shelves, what you position where, blah blah blah. That has been proved. Now that's what we call proving.
Yeah.
Whether that one store gets you profitable or you need 10 stores, to be profitable depends on now your cost to serve and your cost generally. So you do the math. You can wait for the profits you generate from the one store to expand and open other 10 stores.
Yeah.
Or you could go to a partner and say, hey, look, we know the formula of how this thing
I want
works.
to repeat.
Today, we are generating a loss of 500,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
We will need XYZ to get to a profit of this. But, investors are not stupid. They have to see a path to profitability for them to put in the money. And that's why I say, sometimes if you wait too long, your cake gets eaten. That's the reality. Because using this example, Quickmart will go and raise capital, bring in a partner, probably sell 50%, 60% of their shareholding, but they will be almost in every neighborhood in Nairobi before your one store is profitable enough.
But we can argue that one store can live for 60 years, but Quickmart will die in the next 15 years.
Yeah, but that's why it's a business choice. There is people that.
But again, it comes back what you're saying,
It's actually, and this is some of the things when you're starting to build a company. It's what type of company do you want to build?
Yeah.
You want to build a lifestyle business? You want to build a business that actually has more impact than yourself? That's how you think about it. If I'm thinking about building a lifestyle business that helps me and my family to live for the next 60 years, I probably don't raise capital.
Exactly. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But if I want to build a big business,
So capital is important in business, and we all agree on that. I think it's the condition attached to that capital. If it is debt that you have to service, it brings pressure to your business. If it's VC money who needs profitability in the next 5 years, it puts in pressure. So if the Duka guy had the same amount of capital with a supermarket chain, and this guy didn't have any obligations to the capital, and this is the guy, there's at least some agreement that obligation changes how you operate the business.
And by the way, most businesses, whether they raise capital or not, they at least have a credit line. Even the family-owned business, the banks are essentially investors in those businesses, and it's because
if you have a term loan payable in 3-5 years, you have some room. Other than you have some.
But I guess my challenge is what happens if there's these family businesses. They have a credit line, but you don't see them going and shouting about, yo man, I got this million as credit. I don't understand how that's so cool in startups. You just told us.
I'm rich. I'm rich.
I don't think that. So if you're asking me whether it's cool, I don't think that it's cool.
But that's
not.
Okay. But why have we accepted, you as a co-founder, why have you accepted that this is what like we praise. Like for me, I'd be like, let's
I've not accepted that it's what we praise. It's what you have to remember, that there are things that are outside your control.
So you're
it's like
told
how today
we have to.
nobody's being told.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that it's what can I say? It's what society now looks at essentially. It's just a different time. It's not that the people building or doing these things, that's what they love. I think anybody that is in business knows that at the end of the day, the real investor in your business are your customers. You understand?
They're paying nothing. Yes. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, if they're not paying, you have no business being in that business in the first place.
Yeah.
But in terms of what social media or media in general highlights, I do not think that that's something that should be put on the entrepreneurs.
Interesting.
And understand, because today I bring myself here. I will not dictate the questions that you guys ask me. I have to respond.
But I want to ask you, are you comfortable with these questions? Like, I never want to put you in a situation where it's like, no, I'm not comfortable. I think there's that, and you tell me no, and I'll be like, okay, I will not cover this.
But there was Craft Silicon. I think back in the day, he was like the only known. I think he's from Bangladesh.
Kamal, yeah.
Kamal, I think he was from Bangladesh. Then came to Kenya as a software developer. I think started developing software for banks, and then he set up Craft Silicon. Maybe he got some line of credit, but there was no advertisement of. All of a sudden, we just knew there's a company called Craft Silicon, and then they even still keep a low key today. But I think WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, I've blown that. My question is like, you go see all these reports about how much has been raised in Kenya, TZ, UG, blah blah blah, VC Capital. Then the question like, do you know any startup that's been profitable in Kenya?
Not yet.
Yeah, I think they'll start. I don't know, maybe Little Cabbies.
Yeah,
So Craft Silicon is,
but that was a while ago, like maybe 10, 15 years ago, I think.
So yeah, and I think it just comes back to the point. This is a societal issue. I don't know why you guys are pinning it on.
No, I just asked the question. Do you know?
It's like a very interesting thing. Like I'm why does it
the
like
same way we wonder like how even we choose our leaders, like what we glorify. For me, it's an extensive issue. It's just like sometimes what we glorify is the wrong thing.
Okay.
So we should glorify profitability.
Exactly. Let's start highlighting profitability. If a startup is not profitable, give them no space. It will make everybody comfortable.
So only start interviewing profitable startups.
Exactly.
You better not let me down. It's like all I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that will just make things easy, and it will also project the right things, to those people that are coming.
But I don't know, sometimes I feel like we should own that narrative. Like if I was a co-founder, I'd be like, no, I do not want like I would say, I do not want this. Why are we putting this out there?
But sometimes you don't even have to put it out there.
But which numbers? Startups don't release their numbers.
But they talk about like how much they raised. Like,
but like how many active customers do I have?
Exactly, that kind of stuff. Those important things. Like,
But okay, I've not come across any startup that has released their numbers.
We do release our numbers, by the way.
oh, dude. Okay.
That's a good. And I was talking to some of the people who trying to cover tech space. They say one of the things is that startups are stuck with their numbers. If like TechCrunch, let's say a TechCrunch Kenyan version, so like just dedicated to startups and all that kind of stuff. They're like, if you go to a startup, like tell us how many active customers do you have, like.
But at least he told us. He was very honest.
That's a good start. So releasing more numbers would be great from Marketforce. And everyone else who's doing that, it makes people, the only number people can find is how much
you raised.
And that goes into a very big
And then either how much
That's
they
why I
raised.
said, like, that's the thing that people highlight.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like, I've seen that number highlighted, like, even 6 months, 8 months later. And even personally, I'm asking myself, like, why is this
a
still a
thing?
topic?
Yeah, exactly.
You've gone through the cash.
No, sometimes, like, you will, so there is somebody who I think it was first released through TechCrunch. Then everybody else goes, copies, translated to Swahili, translated to Swahili. Another guy,
we have some lazy-
3 months, 4 months
that's
down the
copy
line. It's
pasting.
just like,
We know a few.
See, equals and
All they do is just copy paste, like great stuff. Like find out why. Ask them for their
I
numbers.
give you guys the challenge to start highlighting
Perfect.
start a podcast on path to profitability.
I like
Even if it's
Amen.
not profitability, path to profitability. We're just tracking startups that are pushing towards profitability.
Can you give us some leads after this and we start? Because sometimes you never know, because all you see is like stuff on LinkedIn and then
I
we
know.
took a brand, they're very different.
No, I know they're getting data is the biggest
It's
challenge.
hard. It's
Most
very
startups
hard.
wouldn't.
Yeah, but you know also it's a trust issue, right? So most people
But
like,
also,
we've not built a trust ecosystem where like if I give my numbers to Aura, how do I know that they don't just land on?
But you know, if I'm a media company,
Trust me.
but if I'm a media company, the direct path to this information is the general public. I know that this is true because when you're reporting to investors, the investors don't want to see a different number was reported by Jackie, which is way much lower than what you had reported to the investors. Because there's a fiduciary responsibility to investors, so those numbers tend to stay highly in-house.
Close to the chest.
Probably close to the chest. So they're like, okay, we protected part of profitability for 8 months, or this number shows that we are 2 years away from that. So that sometimes makes up.
But you wouldn't be the first company to do that. Like projections and real numbers are always different. Like why are we? I mean, like even today when you go to analysts in the stock market, they'll give you different projections for different companies, right? And a company either meets a target or doesn't meet a target. I don't see why that's a big issue. Like you definitely need to have a good reason why you don't meet your targets, of course, to your partners.
Yeah.
But like I do not see an issue where if I tell you, Aura, for example, that we're gonna be profitable in 3 months, and then I'm not profitable in 3 months, I can come and tell you I'm not profitable
Yeah,
in
you can
3
tell us
months.
why.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying if the numbers were massaged, the real numbers, not the projected numbers. Let's say you're the 36K active customers. You report 50 to investors, and then you reported 36K to Jackie. Then it's like,
That's just the wrong way to run a business. Because look, what's going to happen? Okay, or number one is, of course, you can lie. You can always lie to people, but you can't lie to yourself. Always remember that. So it doesn't matter. You tell Laura 50 and you have 36. That number is not going to change because you said 50, right? So you still have to do the.
But you can always start the path to profitability because they say Marketforce is getting profitable soon.
We will watch you. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I do want to shift gears to more of like your story. Like, how did you and Tesh come together? Like, it's very tricky sometimes when you're co-founding. Like, I've read that your co-founder or the founder should be a business in itself. So let's say I'm starting a tech company. I am, say, I'd be the product person. And
Be a couple.
Yeah, and you should be like, this person can run things on their own and run that part of the business. But is that how you chose each other, or it was just serendipitous that you managed to be in the same campus together, had this idea?
Yeah, so I think us guys were a bit lucky, because we were first friends, before we were co-founders. So maybe we separate this into two, like what's our journey and what do I think about how we choose a co-founder.
Perfect, yeah.
So us guys, we were lucky that, we were friends, we met in class, we started doing business together unofficially, and, trust grew like that. We figured out we had different strengths that were complementing each other, and we built on top of that. And our first company kind of just started. We did not even know, I didn't even know the term co-founder, by the way, by then. We were just,
That's like, both of us are hustling.
yeah, we're just like, we're hustling.
Money.
Tunaweza jenga hii kitu pamoja.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's use
And
our
I like
strengths
that.
together.
I actually like what you said that.
Yeah, so I think that's the luck element of it, because you start something and you get into it without knowing or knowing that that's how you're doing it. I think when you're consciously looking for a co-founder,
It's trouble.
yeah, it's kind of like a different approach.
It's like when you're looking for today.
but I like this idea that the trust grew out of the friendship, right? And if you go to an incubator like Antler, for example, and you have 3 months to set up a business, and then you're trying to do a speed dating thing.
That's definitely a different one game, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be thinking, what are the skills that this guy has that I don't have?
I don't even know who they are.
Yeah, but I think the most important thing in a co-founder relationship, like any other relationship, is trust.
Yeah.
It's trust and vulnerability.
And where does
So you
law
have to
and
trust
legality
this person to. So what?
legal stuff?
What's legal?
Like when you bring, like if things were not to work out, I
See,
assume.
that's you already don't trust the person. You're already thinking about things not working out.
You think that's an issue? Like if I'm like, hey man,
No, I mean, of course, don't be naive.
Yeah.
Cover yourself. More so if it's. But the thing is, you know, it's a very high chance that if you and your co-founder don't work out, the business won't work out. I can guarantee 90% chance.
interested. We
could
look at
I
this,
mean, unless one person was just there and doing nothing, which means
which
the
is
other person
very
can-
frustrating.
Yeah, you can just run the thing themselves. But you will see that the fastest killer of a startup is just co-founders that are fighting.
Okay, but you're talking about trust and vulnerability. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt.
So
Yeah.
yes, the most important thing is trust and vulnerability, and those two things go together in the sense that you have to trust this person to the point where you're always vulnerable to them. Like, you know, you can always tell this guy, Bana, you know me, this month I'm so stressed because of something that is even unrelated to work, and that way the person will know that, you know, Mesongo is not performing because he's not 100%. How can I support him? Because it's a support system. Your co-founder is your primary support system. You know, both on a personal level, business level, and everything. So,
Now, I was once told by somebody that professionals don't bring their feelings to work. You come in, you have a job on the table, you do it.
when you're raising a business is like a baby.
Yeah.
Like feelings are always there in work.
Yeah.
Feelings are always there in work, and because it's a tough journey, you know, it's not something you're doing for a year or two. It's always like you have a timeline of 10 plus years.
And how did you choose who the CEO is and who the co-founder is and who the
So
if are you equal partners or what's this deal there?
yeah, so you know, when you're choosing a co-founder, my own philosophy will be get a co-founder that can lead you. If me and Orwa are gonna start a business, if I cannot trust Orwa to lead me, he has no business being my co-founder. If Orwa cannot trust me leading him, I have no business.
I like that.
Being his co-founder. And it's the fundamentals of it. So, and how we chose the CEO, it was based on the role. Tash is the more the business sales guy. I'm more of the tech, technology product person. So yeah, that's how we ended up on CEO.
So you always have to be complimentary.
Yeah, complementary is good. I mean, like, you can't be doing the core.
You're both sales.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems like it worked out well. Now, it seems like it went very well because you're friends fast and you nurtured that trust.
And vulnerability, most importantly.
Yes, and for that, and when we're talking about building a business slowly, it was that time is not there to maybe also business needs ample time for something to be built. Another question: if you are an advisor at Antler or Nairobi Garage or the incubators, and you're to set up a founders event, how would you set it up?
Founders.
Like me, I have an idea I want to found and it's just
okay.
like
Yeah.
how do we
I think try to mix people with different skill sets and personalities. And I think you don't need, what I wouldn't do is putting like pressure that you have to get. It has to be like accidental.
be a solo.
You can always be a solo founder. There are many successful solo founders. There are people that start the business, run it 2 years, and 2 years later when they get a co-founder.
Yeah,
Happens.
that's cool.
So I will say, like, one thing before you even give somebody that title of co-founder, let it build in. So actually in the business we have somebody who's almost like a third co-founder. It's called Benjamino.
Right.
You know, we met him in. He was working for another company here. He started the relationship as an advisor before actually even the birth of Marketforce. So, then we started working together. He's our immediate former COO. So we brought him on board. We knew each other, for a while, before we even started working together. I think it's important to take your time, because it has to be a very tight relationship, where you can share stuff about the business, about your personal life, and things like that. I think my own belief is that if you just make it strictly business, as you were saying, like don't bring, what did you call it?
Don't bring more.
Don't bring your feelings to work.
Don't bring your feelings to work.
Yeah.
I think that's not going to be an environment where people thrive.
Yeah.
Generally.
Okay, interesting. I guess my next question is, how does it feel? Like, I think you're one of the few pretty successful startups that are your Kenyan men. Like, I think a lot of the startups out there are very white-led organizations that are white-owned. Like, you guys are like you're fully ours. We can relate to you guys. I can call you up here and be very comfortable. How does it feel? Does it put pressure on you? Do you guys feel like underdogs sometimes?
Maybe the money
You're
is
putting
white.
pressure on me.
Maybe the money is white.
Maybe the money is white.
You're putting pressure on me.
Putting pressure on you.
It's a very controversial.
But it feels good to see you. There we can do it.
Are you anti?
That's why we have to be profitable. So yeah, no, I think for me, it feels like an important responsibility.
Very.
Because then we have to pave way for many people to believe that
Yes.
this guy just looks like me. Former.
He's a pastoralist,
See, now he's playing with the big boys, so maybe I can also play with the big boys. So yeah, I think that it's a big responsibility.
Lots of pressure.
Lots of pressure, and I feel blessed.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
But how has it been? Have you felt like the imposter phenomenon? Have you moments where like you haven't felt like
No.
you've never felt like that?
No, I don't feel. I don't feel the imposter syndrome because I'm not trying to be anybody.
No, I think this is just like when I say imposter phenomenon, it's like you're a very high achiever, but like if you look around you, you'd be like, okay, do I actually belong here? And it's good that you've never felt it, but I just wanted to explain to you what it is.
Of
I'm
course,
not saying you're an imposter. Yeah.
It's always so more so on the fundraising side. It's always more difficult. When you're not a certain type of person. That's just the reality of it. But in most things, it's always important, and it's not just fundraising, but also how you look at your partners, how you look at your employees. It's always important to get people that are your tribe. And tribe here is not, what in Kenya we call tribe, but it's people that share the same beliefs.
values.
So we did release an article actually recently.
I look good.
Where it's called The Underdogs.
Oh, okay.
It kind of touches on this topic that you're asking about, but our strong belief is that we are the underdogs if you consider many things
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah.
put together. So what we've tried to do very well is to find people that relate to us and believe in what we are doing. Because they share the dream, or because they've been through a similar path. And so if you look at even how we chose our board, so the chair of our board is Ken, former
Cellular?
CEO.
Yeah.
So Ken was a self-starter, just like us guys. Raised locally, not go up crowd, started a business. So he understands how to navigate the ecosystem, the challenges that are in the ecosystem. And that's how we even look at our partners. We go for partners that will support us, without needing us to be
Somebody else.
So that helps you to avoid even having the imposter syndrome or something those things. And even employees that we bring on board, more so senior level, managers. many people have taken pay cuts to come work with us.
That's
You
a
know,
good sign.
yeah, because we're not the big boys, but these are people that want to support us, because they believe in what we are building. So, yeah, I think the most important thing is find your tribe, whoever you're relating with. Your advisors should be your tribe. Your employees should be your tribe. Your investors should be your tribe. Let them be the underdogs. They don't have to be, there is also, in everything actually, there is always the underdog. There's always the enlightened guys, the fashionable ones and everything.
Always.
And then there is always just the other guy.
I think that's the greatest thing I've had because, also as an underdog, it gives you time to chill out and work out your issues. If you're the top dog, you're always fighting imaginary battles.
Exactly. And the thing we get a very big advantage of is that because of how we select that, we get a lot of support. Because you know what, like, underdogs are workers.
Yeah.
They know if we don't work, we have nothing. Yeah. So, and that's what we benefit from that relationship. It's like these people are willing to put in their work.
So what will happen as you grow? Because you will grow from an underdog to like the big dog. If Marketforce will be then
The force of the market.
The force of the market. Safari and
That's not good, right?
No, maybe that's why it's called that. What are you guys thinking as you grow to keep that? It's like when you say it, like, yeah, that's music to my ears. Sounds very beautiful.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting question because it's a culture thing, right? So you build a certain culture, and sometimes as you grow, the culture gets challenged.
Yeah.
Because now, you can imagine if you're $1 billion company and then you're here saying, I'm the underdog. What are you saying? Somebody else will come up there, I'm the underdog. I don't believe you, but I think what will be important going forward is staying true to the dream. Which also, when you look at our customers, the merchants, they are also underdogs.
Yeah,
they are
true.
small people trying to build a business. So the question will be, do we still stay true to those people, listening to them, helping them grow their businesses? And how do you also structure your team so that you don't get very far away from your DNA? But I know it's going to be a difficult process.
But I guess just stay true to the calling, and I think we'll get that. Chris, do you have any last questions?
Now I'm looking forward to the profitability. I hope it'll be somewhere in social
social media. It can be because the one question I've always wanted to have like one use case that this is a startup that has gone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was Pesapal, which
Yeah.
did they get? I think maybe, but they ran a very small, tight house, and I think they preferred growing slowly over time. And until nowadays, I think they made money and didn't care about updating anything about.
Not even their website.
Yes.
Seriously, I've got to look. I'm like,
Saying money never screams. Once you made money,
You just
Just
like-
keep quiet.
Just people are like, who do I need to? But I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, you have people who want to do these things, but like when you just hear startups are closing, like you want to know,
it's
this is important.
it's a different also together.
I think how raising capital contributes to that. Environment contributes to that. So sometimes some startup will die. It's inevitable.
What
The
percentage?
number says it's 10% of businesses. And
not just
generally, even SMEs.
Yeah.
They will
A startup is a
10%,
business.
but,
they will die. So I'm looking forward to the profit.
And by the way, remember that sometimes, you can go through the old path and it'll still die.
you can do everything right.
I mean, there is more than enough examples.
How old is Marketforce?
How old is Marketforce? I think 3 now.
Oh, when do you stop being a startup? At 10.
They're still young.
Yeah, they're very young.
Yeah, I mean, I think a startup is based on how you're doing things.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Maybe
you
the
are
next
still
2
very.
years.
But that's a tremendous growth. If it's 3 years old.
Yeah, but there's background to it, right? Remember, we were already running Mesongo. So we had a core team already in place. We did something we used to call Marketforce 1, which was serving different set of clients. It was not in the FMCG space. But that was the base on which we built Marketforce. So
yeah.
if you put all that together, it's like 10 years.
Oh, it's like 10 years. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it was like.
Most companies don't even figure things out.
By 5 years. You're still floating around figuring systems and processes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the profitability.
Amen.
Nice. Let's we'll do a podcast.
Yeah. They come back.
No, yeah, you
come
come
back.
back. You come do a podcast here, man. Any last thoughts as we're? I mean, it's been so good talking to you. Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Thanks for having me. I'm also happy to be doing this with you guys. For those that know me, I don't speak a lot.
Yeah, you told me that really well.
I'm a very camera shy person, so I'm not always in the media or in camera most of the time.
You've done really well. You should keep it up.
Oh, thank you, and I've enjoyed the session. Now that we've brought Chris out of his hideout and having you and the team generally, so just want to say a big thank you to all of you guys for hosting. Very nice environment to do a podcast.
Thank you. Tell them, yeah, guys, if you want to do podcasts,
Yeah.
Shout out.
Honeypot. Got you.
Honeypot. Very nice fellas, vibrant, and all smiles. I felt very comfortable by the way. So
Thank you.
for that.
We're trying to disrupt
The podcast market.
And yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe, comment, share. Until next time, Kwaheri.
Asante.
Peace out.
Has good vibes, but 9 to 5 with Ngari has better.